What's good? It's your boy, Mixtape Moth, and today I'm going to hit y'all with a review of the Dave East album, American Greed. Let's get to it. Dave East is a Harlem rapper slash actor. This year, he dropped what I feel was a 4-mic project in the form of his Karma 3 mixtape. But Dave East has been grinding on the music scene since around 2010. So what I wanted to do here today was do a review of one of his earliest records from all the way back in 2011. So this project, American Greed, is actually his second official mixtape. His first project, entitled Change of Plans, came out the year before. And after listening to A Change of Plans, I was able to see Dave's improvement as a rapper within just 1 year time span. Now, prior to listening to American Greed and Change of Plans, my introduction to Dave East came around the time of his Gemini mixtape, followed by Black Rose. So it was interesting for me to see how he has evolved as an artist over time. One thing that was instantly noticeable to me on these first two mixtapes was that his flow was different. His voice wasn't as deep and as hoarse sounding as it is today. His cadence was different, and I think overall his flow sounded much smoother than it does today. So what I'm trying to say is that I think he definitely raps better now, but he had a better flow back then, in my opinion. Before I get into all these tracks, I wanted to point out that lyrically, you could tell that Dave East was still trying to figure it out at this time. I wouldn't say he was a novice in 2011, but he was more so in between the novice and intermediate stages of rhyming. But regardless, Dave is rapping his heart out on this thing. Some of these songs have 3 to 4 verses, which is very uncommon by today's standards, where most artists give you 2 verses tops, then call it a day. Now, I had to keep it real. This is a very long album to get through at 1 hour and 30 minutes. It's probably the longest album that I've listened to in a while. I mean, this even contains more songs than the recent Busta Rhymes album, which definitely had more songs than necessary. But with that being said, let me hit y'all with this track by track breakdown. The album kicks off with the intro, AZ Speaks, but it's not really AZ speaking on Dave or introducing him. Rather, it's just an a cappella sample of AZ's Do or Die verse on top of a beat that blends nicely into the first song, Greed. Now, Greed is easily one of the standout tracks from this album. It's one of the few songs with just 1 verse, but the smooth instrumental and soulful chorus make this feel really complete. There is something about the beat that is giving me some Nas and AZ vibes. I could totally see both of them rapping on a beat of this manner. For some reason, this song also put me in the frame of mind of the King of New York movie. The second track, Something's Missing, finds Dave East declaring why he's the missing link in the rap game. This has another very suave and laid back instrumental with some gentle female crooning. There is somewhat of a luxury rap feel to this as well, especially with Dave's line about having a crib overlooking Central Park. But it was his second verse that stood out the most to me with Make It Hot. I've been repping Harlem World since Vacant Lot, starving and I wanted in the kitchen trying to scrape a pot. I used to have nightmares, now I got money dreams. Tail blue 550 Porsche box, Hunter green. Haters like fried rice, they get up under wing. Track 3, entitled Juice, finds Dave East rapping again over another very soulful sample. Almost getting some American gangster vibes from this beat. On here, Dave East likens his recent position in rap to that of Bishop because now he has the juice. I really like how the first 3 songs sounded sonically. I think Dave East is at his best when rapping on these laid back 70s style beats. After this, Dave East decides to change the tempo drastically with the Jello Beats produced Riding, and you can tell immediately this song was from the 2010 era once you hear the Jello Beats producer tag. This one is more of a banger. Dave keeps referencing his new crib, and it must have been quite a level up from what he lived in before, as he mentions it so often. So you were getting quite a bit of boasting and slick talk here. It was just an okay track overall, but I did like the energy. Up next, we have the very wavy Bi-Coastal, which finds Dave East proclaiming his love for all coasts. I really like the 80s pop sample used here. It's a smooth track to ride out to. But Dave does hit us with some cliche bars like Bob Barker, My Price Right. This was a very wavy track, nonetheless, that would have suited, I think, Max B really well. This is followed up by words from Kurt Cobain, which leads into the track Real as Shit. This has a psychedelic rock sample that is pretty unique sounding. It's kind of giving me some Action Bronson vibes. On this record, Dave is doing some braggadocio talk while also sprinkling in some revolutionary references to guys like Huey Newton and Bobby Seale. Sonically, I did enjoy this track because the beat was different sounding, but the lyrics were just okay to me. The next track, Iceberg Slim, has Dave East going into his 70s pimp bag. The title of this song is obviously a nod to the notorious pimp Iceberg Slim. Dave also manages to mention Goldie from the blaxploitation flick The Mac. While I'm always game for Goldie and Iceberg Slim references in hip hop, I thought this track dragged on a little too long. Dave East continues to embrace the 70s vibes on the following track, Go Round. He raps over the very soulful That's What Makes the World Go Around sample from the style. Now, no matter the artist who raps over this particular sample, it always makes me think of the movie Crooklyn. He states, '07 Mark Buchanan had the leather tucked, brothers cuffing and loving on something they never fucked. First love ain't work out, hope I got better luck. Music is my soul, I'm locking down, no letting up. And I think these bars really epitomize who Dave East is. He is that Harlem fly guy who will bag your broad, but he's also a hustler who has stayed committed to pursuing his dreams through music. On Death Before Dishonor, Dave East talks embracing the street code of loyalty. Well, on the chorus, that is, because the lyrics weren't really focused on that specific theme. On here, Dave is rapping somewhat of a double time flow over a bouncy and southern flavored beat. It does show his versatility, but I really didn't care for this one. The following song, Living a Movie, has a very wavy synthesizer beat. He's rapping a little faster again. There were, unfortunately, some cliche bars like got more bars than a Klondike and money tall as LeBron's height, and the Joe Pesci Goodfellas sample was a bit overused as well, but I did like the wavy production on this track. The record Dreamer in Me has a lavish instrumental that sounds like a hybrid of a Just Blaze and Justice League beat. This was a very smooth instrumental for 2011 standards. After this, we have a sample of a Biggie interview that flows nicely into the very smooth track All I Need, which has another very luxurious and polished beat. I think this song had four verses on it. After this, we have Dave East flexing his skills on Tell Me. This has a pretty enticing but raw and dusty soul sample. I like the energy of this record as he's just going in with a lot of confidence. Then we have the song Expression, where East is rapping to the ladies over a pretty wavy sample loop. It just has that Harlem fly guy feel to it. I could totally picture Jim Jones and Max B sounding right at home on this instrumental. Now, Dave East continues to stay in his ladies bag on the No Time interlude. He's doing some storytelling on top of a really smooth piano sample. This shows you that back in 2011, Dave East already had a knack for storytelling. On the track Endless, Dave East talks his shit over another really luxurious sample. I feel some of these beats were ahead of their time for 2011, especially for an artist on the come up like Dave East was at this particular time. The tempo picks back up on Undefeated featuring Phil Aid. Now this instrumental sounds pretty dated by 2020 standards, but it was likely appropriate for the time, although I didn't particularly care for this record yet. Really didn't do anything for me. The following song, Dollars and Bills, is actually a highlight pretty late in the track list. I like the hunger and street survival bars that East is giving us. Plus, I also like the Curtis Mayfield sample and the 90s R&B style chorus from Erica J. That hook definitely gave the track that 90s throwback quality. Then we have the Hustle and Motivate song, Not an Option, which gave me some Nipsey Hussle vibes. You can see why the two would grow to become close friends. This had another very solid instrumental. After this is I Want to Know Hangover. It's a record, which finds Dave East in smooth criminal mode. He's just floating on top of this melodic beat. Dave East states, being forward is in my nature, firm life, listening to nature, cremate tracks, I send them back to they maker. Then we get smacked, spending stacks in Jamaica. The wordplay is not bad. Only Time Could Tell has Dave East rapping about envisioning the luxury life on another lavish beat. The closing song, entitled The Struggle, uses the same sample from Raekwon's North Star. Anytime an artist samples this beat, I tend to enjoy it. The first part of this track has a vocal clip from the Dead Presidents movie. East states, diamond cuts cost a couple bucks just to show the clarity. Smoking Kush, knocking Raekwon a mobilarity. So shout out to Dave East for giving props to Raekwon's Immobilarity album, an album that really doesn't get any love. And I think we can all agree that production-wise, that was a big letdown from Only Built for Cuban Links, but Raekwon's bars on that album were actually some of his best. But The Struggle is one of my favorite tracks because it shows the talent that Dave East has for painting a picture, and also his ability to drop in very slick references that can create a vibe. When he's on and focused, few can match his imagery. Overall, I give this album a rating of 3.5 out of 5. At an hour and 30 minutes, this album can be a bit of a slog to get through. I mean, in 2020, it's like the equivalent of getting 3 Griselda projects all on one disc. I think had he shaved off several of these songs, I would have given it probably a 4. With all of these tracks, it felt like Dave East was throwing the kitchen sink at us. But the cohesive part to this project was his spotlight on the various mafia movies and black culture movies that he sampled from. It's almost like he wanted to show the world where he got his creative inspiration. And I've enjoyed most of these movies myself, so I could relate on that level. While there were many different kinds of records on here, the one thing that was missing, in my opinion, were the really introspective and rags to riches kinds of tales that Dave East is now known for. In 2011, it just seemed like he was more focused on flowing and rapping as much as he could, sometimes giving us 3 to 4 verses on individual songs. So the songwriting wasn't always the best, and some bars were hit or miss. Like I said earlier, there were some cringy lines here and there, but there were also moments where he showed us glimpses of his brilliance. As far as the production, I actually liked it a lot, particularly the soul samples. I think Dave East tends to be at his best when rapping over very soulful instrumentals. I also like some of the more wavy production on here as well. I'm not gonna lie, some of these beats sounded incredible for being from 2011. I think this project demonstrated his hunger and drive as an up-and-coming artist, as he has come quite a long way since 2011. In that sense, Dave's artistic progression was similar to Nipsey Hussle's, in that they didn't start out as pros or lyrical prodigies, but with time, perseverance, and hard work, they grew to craft really strong projects. So I'm glad that I got the opportunity to see the then and now of Dave East, and I'm looking forward to his Beloved 2 project with Styles P, which hopefully will be dropping sooner than later. My favorite tracks include Greed, Something's Missing, Juice, Go Round, No Time Interlude, Endless, Dollars and Bills, Not an Option, and The Struggle. Let me know what you thought about this project in the comment section below. What would you like me to check out next? It's your boy, Mixtape Moth. I'm signing out, but be sure to hit that like button and please subscribe. As always, it's peace and blessings. Dave East, American Greed, 1.